Hello, vinyl community. It's Matt here again, and I finally picked up something of a grail. It's not one of those, 40, 50-year-old grails. It's a very recent album, but it was one that, boy, I thought, geez, it's so expensive. Even used copies seem kind of pricey that I kind of shied away from it until I found it for the right price. So it goes to show if you hold out, then it can be worth it. But anyway, and that is the White Album, the Beatles, the Deluxe Anniversary Edition, the box set right there. Yeah. So I had just the White Album, which I found used for $20 in a record store, which was actually a really good deal, about maybe a year or so ago. And I wanted the box set because I really wanted the Esher demos. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Esher. I believe it's a town in Surrey, in England, which is not a million miles away from where I grew up, but it's been so long since I lived in England that I realized I couldn't remember the pronunciation if it was Esher or Esher. I'm gonna say Esher, and it's one of those things, whichever pronunciation I chose was gonna be the wrong one, so it probably is. But anyway, now if it's not a particularly hard album to find at all, but finding it for a good price, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? And I actually got it for $60 plus shipping. It was still in the shrink. The shrink had a little hole in the back, just to kind of where it had torn. And I think what had happened was I could see that there was some tape, and I suspect it had a security tag on it. And they tried to take it off, and when they took it off, it took some of the shrink off with it. So that didn't bother me because the only way to actually open the box is to remove the shrink completely, which is what I wanted, because of course I wanted to listen to it. Now, normally this seems to, at least in a record store, seems to go for about $100. You can find on eBay for less. Obviously, I did. Going rate, you can get it for less than 70, but often it's a lot more than that. But anyway, yeah, the record stores, I've seen this for $100. This copy had a price sticker on it. I forget where it was from. I recognized it, and I don't have the shrink anymore, but the price sticker said $110 on it. And I saw it recently in Barnes & Noble, same thing, well, $100 in Barnes & Noble. And oh boy, really? I must be able to find it for cheaper than that. So now the real reason, again, I wanted this was for the Esher demos, but let's go ahead and unbox this. And this box is a little bit tricky to remove, so just bear with me for a minute here. The Esher demos, oh, there we go. Oh, that's pretty easy. The Esher demos, of course, only come with the box set. They did not come with the just the White Album that I had previously, the one I got for $20. Now, when we first open this up, we get this nice little booklet at the front here. Photos of each of the band members. I think all these photos were taken by Linda McCartney, who was kind of a well-known photographer. Before she met Paul, she was a photographer, I believe. And inside we have, there you go, We the Beatles, and which is by Paul McCartney, an introduction by Giles Martin, Kevin Howlett, a name I'm not familiar with, but will probably turn out to be some famous Beatles historian that I should be familiar with. On the Road to the White Album, it just talks about kind of how the album came to be. And on the back, he also talks about the Esher demos. So George Harrison's house was in the town of Esher, I guess, right? Probably what it says. Let's check here. Yeah, George Harrison's bungalow in Esher. So the Beatles went there, and it wasn't long, a matter of days, before they were due to be in the studio to start recording the White Album. They probably didn't know what it was going to be called by that point. They were just going to start laying down tracks for it and so on. And this was after they'd been in India, and they wrote a ton of material when they were out there. And they went to George Harrison's house, recorded the demos, and the sound quality is actually pretty amazing, because you sort of think, oh, geez, a demo, it's going to be basically a bootleg, it's going to be real crappy audio quality. Is it even going to be in stereo? Yada, yada, yada. Well, it's actually, the audio quality is actually superb, because George Harrison had a sort of a near professional setup, really. I mean, he was using equipment, recording onto 4-track tape. Um, he was using equipment that you'd find in many professional studios, equipment that the Beatles themselves had recorded on in Abbey Road. And so, yeah, it really is surprising, but in a good way, how good the sound quality is on those. But the first album we get is the main white album. That's the one that's at the top here, underneath the booklet. And nothing really new to see here. The only difference is that it says Stereo Anniversary Edition on the spine. Other than that, it's the same thing we've all seen a million times before. Same photos, same track listing. Contains the full photos of the band members. But it is a very, very good mix, I will say. I don't think it's as good as the Abbey Road mix that Giles Martin also produced, but it is very good still. Underneath that, we get the Isha demos, which I'll take out here. There we go. And again, it looks very much like the White Album. The only difference is this little stamp down here. And same thing on the spine. It says Isha demos on the spine. And at a very, very casual glance, when you open it up, you think, oh, it looks like the White Album. But the photos are different to start with. And the track listing is a little different too. Because number one, there are a few tracks that ended up on the White Album that they did not record when they were having this sort of, it's almost like a jam set. I guess it was a rehearsal more than anything in Isha. So there's some tracks on there. I'm trying to think of the top of my head if I can pick some out. Well, Revolution 9 isn't on here. Wild Honey Pie is also not on here. Good Night is not on here. Birthday. So, okay, there's quite a few. But it also contains a number of songs that did not, for one reason or another, end up on the White Album. And in most cases ended up on other other albums, which we'll explain. So, first off, it seems very much like the White Album back in the USSR, Dear Prudence, Glass Onion, etc. And then we get into record 2, which has all of the kind of the stuff that didn't make the cut onto the White Album. So it includes Sour Milk Sea, which was a George Harrison composition. And I think that, he ended up recording it in the mid to late 70s, I think it was. And he recorded it, or he wrote it for Jackie Lomax. He put out the first version of it years before George did. It also contains Junk, which is a Paul McCartney song. That did end up on, was it his self-titled album? Was it Ram? I think it was his self-titled album, but I won't swear to it. I should know that. Child of Nature, John Lennon's song. That would later become Jealous Guy, very well-known song. Subsequently was covered by Roxy Music as well. Actually, the Roxy Music version was probably a bigger hit than the original. But yeah, very different lyrics. The Lennon, the early Lennon version on here, where he talks about basically their time in India, pretty much. A song called Circles, which I was not familiar with. It also contains Me, Mr. Mustard, and Polythene Pam, which of course ended up on Abbey Road. Not Guilty, which was a George Harrison song. And that's actually a fantastic track that I think was a little bit unlucky not to make the cut and end up on the White Album. I think he record it? I don't know if he did record it later. Now I'm trying to think. It was on the third anthology album, Beatles Anthology 3, I think. But yeah, I'm not sure if Harrison ever recorded that. Anyway, it then finally has What's the New Mary Jane. Mary Jane, of course, a euphemism for marijuana. And sort of I say a controversial song. I guess it would have been at the time, probably less so now. But it was a song that a lot of people wanted to have an official release, and they actually did release it on Anthology 3 as well. But I don't know if they used the same version. I'm not sure about that. And finally, at the bottom, we get the poster, which I'm not going to fully pull out, but you can kind of see part of it there. And this was, I had this with the just the album that I have, the $20 one that I had, that was in there too. So that's it. You know, whether it's worth an extra, well, let's say, I'm just trying to compare the retail prices, whether it's worth an extra $50, $60 full-blown retail to get a box and the issue demos is kind of questionable, to be honest. I get it that it's way more limited, you know, a more limited edition and so on, but I don't know. That seems kind of pricey. Now, I've actually also ordered the Abbey Road box set, and that's turned into a bit of a saga. That seems to have got lost in transit somewhere, because that should have been here 2 weeks ago. It's not, so, or close to 2 weeks. No, I'm sorry. I think I ordered it 2 weeks ago. It should have been here a week ago, and it just keeps saying in transit, you know, on the USPS website. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, but the original delivery date was, yeah, like a week ago. So I'm gonna go to the post office tomorrow just to see if it wound up there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping, and that one I took a bit of a gamble. It was a low price. The seller just said the condition was used, and you know, that's often a red flag. But I'm thinking, geez, it's such a new album. How bad a condition can it be? And so I thought I'm gonna take a chance on it. We'll see. We'll see if it turns up. If it does, we'll have another video about that. Yeah, we'll see. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching as always, and please do subscribe. I'm getting close to 1,500 subscribers, and when that happens, I may have some kind of a contest of sorts. We'll see. But anyway, don't forget to subscribe. Always appreciate everybody's comments, and until next time, bye bye.